excited to come and talk about digital inclusion. Also appreciate that a lot of you guys are here probably for the free meal. You know, a lot of people say that the public and private sector are a lot different, but man, everyone loves free lunch, right? I tell you, if you're ever at a government conference, you need to be there, okay, right when they put out the food. Because government people, we don't get a lot of benefits, and whenever there's free food on the table, we're going to be there and we're going to be eating it. So I am the Civic Technology Manager for Louisville Metro, and I work for the Department of IT. I used to be on the innovation team, and that's where a lot of this work started. The easiest way to think about what we do is, you know, have you ever heard the concept of smart cities before? We're really kind of the smart city office. We're focused on the transformation of government services through the use of data and technology. And so you guys are probably at the forefront of that here in Humana, you know, with the healthcare industry. But government, just like every other industry in the world, is undergoing a transformation because of big data and technology. And so we're really focused on helping our departments make that transition. Obviously, government's a little bit more difficult nut to crack. I'm sure you guys in the healthcare industry can really appreciate that, how difficult that is. So we really work with departments. I mean, Louisville Metro as an entity actually has only existed since the early 21st century, but Louisville as a city and as kind of a political organization has existed since the 1700s. So when you think about a company like Google, right, it's an old tech company now. It's not even 30 years old. It's just a completely different time frame. So we've got a lot of stuff that we do. And we're a little bit slower. So innovation happens, you know, over a 5-year time frame, not necessarily under 6 months. But as part of that kind of data and tech transformation, what we really look at, you know, obviously equity is a huge thing that government is really focused on, especially under Mayor Fisher. So digital inclusion, you know, the access to the internet and technology is incredibly important for a number of things. It used to be if you didn't have access to the internet at home, you couldn't check your email, maybe you couldn't check Facebook, all of these things. Now, you might not be able to get a job, right? Even a low-level, entry-level job. I went into Cordova up there by 4th Street Live like a year or two ago when I first started working on digital inclusion. And there was a young man that walked in looking for a job, looking for a paper application. The woman behind the counter told him it was online. You might as well have told him it was on bars. He put his head down, walked right out of there, right? I don't think he applied for that job. Access to healthcare. I mean, you guys are probably the digital experience, thinking about people accessing healthcare online, information about healthcare. We're part of Connect Home, which is a housing authority metro partnership. It's run across the country, and Micah McLean right there, you guys are going to hear from her. They found that people with internet access were less likely to go to the emergency room, right? Because they're able to check their symptoms online. So it has a lot to do with healthcare. Starting a business, right? Like, come on, we gotta have a website, all of those things. Finding resources online. Kids are doing homework online, even accessing government services. So instead of having to go down, you know, a lot of times taking your kids, whoever it is, to go get things like LIHEAP, which helps people with heating assistance, you can do that online. But if you don't have internet access at home, you either have to go to a library, which is a great backstop for a community, but then you got 30 minutes to get everything done. You have to drag your people there. You have to get there when the library's open. So it's obviously a huge issue. So digital inclusion is really all about increasing equity around access to the internet and technology. And we do that in very specific, or we kind of look at this in a very narrow way, because, you know, digital inclusion could be, is like the Ohio, right? Mile wide, mile deep. There could be a lot of different things, but what we're really focused on is kind of the core fundamentals of digital inclusion. And we've been doing that a lot of different ways. But first I want to talk to you guys about what the digital divide looks like in the Louisville Metro area. So dark red is 0 to 20% adoption rate of broadband at home. Dark blue is 80 to 100%. So you could do this map up for anything, right? Health outcomes, life expectancy, violent crime, all of these things, right? And it probably look very much the same. It looks the same here in Louisville. Okay, so the areas that you would expect to have poor internet adoption at home are the ones that have poor internet adoption at home. Right here, what we've done is we've pulled out every single area that does not have a high concentration of poverty. So these are all the neighborhoods or census blocks with a high concentration of poverty. And you can see not one of them maybe one has I think it's like one of the weird ones, like Smoketown, which is kind of gentrifying, that's 60 to 80% of adoption rate, but the rest of them are really, they're under 60% adoption rate. So huge digital divide. based on 2016 data, 29% of Louisville Metro households don't have internet access. So that they do not have a wired internet connection at home. Having a data plan on your cell phone is not enough. Okay, so we really believe that you need to have that wired access at home, that unlimited, undata capped kind of internet. 19.2% of our households don't have a laptop or a desktop at home. So sometimes you'll hear a lot, especially when you're looking at the census data, they'll say that having a cell phone is considered having a computer at home. We do not believe that. So we look at the data, we say 19.2% of our households don't have a laptop or a desktop. And also, we did a computer drive last year, which actually Humana contributed 50 computers to. We really appreciate that. But we pulled computers from the community. And some of the people that say they have computers at home, I don't know if they're really usable computers. Pull a lot of things out with floppy disks, or somebody may have a computer at home, but it's broken, so is it really working? Is it really functioning? So I actually bet this number is even higher, but it's closer to that 30% number, if not even higher. But why is this all important? 82% of middle skilled jobs require digital skills. And we're not talking about jobs that you need a college education for. These are jobs, like just upskilled jobs from high school education. Right? So basically any decent job that you want to get in America, if you're a high school graduate, you need to have some sort of digital skills. Also, 61.3% of our jobs, based on 2012 data, are in threat of automation. We're actually in the top 10 kind of metro areas for at-risk, like high proportions of jobs at risk of reduced automation. So if the jobs are automated, what's going to happen? Obviously, there'll be new jobs created. We all know that. But a lot of those jobs are going to probably require even more advanced digital skills, right? So if people don't have the digital skills necessary, the access necessary, they're not going to be successful. So what is Louisville Metro doing about this? We put together, just like any good government agency, we put together a strategy. Okay, and how are we going to address this? But what I'm really proud about is this strategy really wasn't like, hey, we need to put a bunch of money behind this. We just started looking at best practices from around the country. We started doing stuff right away. So this wasn't like we're going to do a study to do a study. Okay, this was, let's figure out what our gaps are and let's get aggressive about trying to close the digital divide in Louisville. So we look at the best practices. All right, there's three pillars to a digital inclusion plan. First is connectivity, and we look at connectivity as home internet access, all right? So some other communities, they say if you get a tablet with a cell plan, that's good. If you got a cell phone, that's good. We don't say that. We want home wired internet access. Second is computers, hardware. We want to get more computers into people's homes, all right? So this is not just making sure we've got a lot of computer labs, making sure we get computers in people's homes. And then for digital skills, we really want to help people adults close computer skill gaps. So there's a lot of great things that are happening for our kids in our community at JCPS, all these different things. But there's a lot of people in that 20 to 50 age range that are going to be in the workforce for decades and don't have the digital skills necessary. So we want to make sure that we're trying to close that gap in Louisville. And so our roadmap was in 2016. We developed and kind of and socialized our plan internally at Louisville Metro. 2017, we released the plan and started pilot initiatives. And this year, what we're doing is we're establishing dedicated resources and scaling our programs. It's actually really exciting. The first year was wildly successful. I'll talk to you guys about that. Now I'm running into the problem where it's like, I've got too many computers, right? I've got hundreds of computers. I don't know where to store them. I have to figure out how to transport them places. I mean, there's like 3 or 4 of us that are really kind of mod squad on this, and we're impacting hundreds of families. It's pretty amazing. As part of that, though, we've got Andrea Caldwell over there, right there. She is a AmeriCorps Vista with us. She's part of that dedicated resources, and she's going to be helping us with that program. So we are adding people to our team. We're always excited to have new faces on the team, but we are working to get even bigger. So connectivity. So even as compared to other metro areas, the largest MSAs, metropolitan statistical areas, Louisville ranks 45th in terms of home internet access. So that 29% number, that's a bad number for us to have as a kind of a metro area. And we really do struggle as compared to other areas. So our strategic goal, digital inclusion is still kind of a new thing, and so there's not really like, here's a good metric here's a good goal for you guys to reach for. So we just said we basically want to half it. So we want to increase by 2022, so Mayor Fisher is reelected. We want to increase, that's when he would be in office, we want to increase home internet access by 15% by then. I don't know if that's a good number, but it seems like a good one. Our goal this year is to connect 1,000 families to low-cost internet options. So there are 2 locally available low-cost internet options in the Louisville Metro area. The first is AT&T Access. If you receive SNAP benefits or food stamps, you're eligible for $10 a month internet through AT&T. If you have someone in your household receiving free or reduced lunch, or over 65 receiving supplemental Social Security income, you're eligible for $20 a month internet through Spectrum. These are federally mandated programs that were mandated after these, all of these crazy telecom mergers happened, right? So I think AT&T was DirecTV and Charter was one of the hundreds of mergers that they've done. So AT&T particularly has gotten a lot better about their ground game in terms of getting out the community, because if you sell these products, right, like you actually have to get in front of people. Only 6% of people nationally know that are eligible for these programs know they exist, right? So there's one gap that we wanted to fix right away. So we just started going to back to school events. We started going to community events and signing people up. This is one picture. This is out at Valley High School on Dixie Highway. We got a bunch of volunteers, and we just set up a table, just tell people about it, and then if they are eligible for the AT&T program because they have an online form, we actually qualify them for the program right there. It's been an amazing program. Just love this picture here. We're just at a community event. Lots of volunteers, lots of different people. Really the first year it was just like friends and family. Me and my wife signed up like 20 families at one back to school event. So it was pretty good, but now we're actually starting to get more Metro employees involved. We're starting to get more community members involved. And we've got a training program actually to teach people how to do these low-cost internet signups because, surprise, there's a couple of hiccups in the AT&T form, right? It's actually something I'm talking to Matt about. We're going to hopefully design a better form for them so that it's a little bit easier to go through the process for people. There's a couple of hiccups and we figured it out. But the thing I love is like you look at these 2 guys, right? Like these are 2 of my friends. These jokers. Okay, these jokers, they signed up 11. I talked to them about 15 minutes. I do signups, and they signed up 11 people, 11 families for low-cost internet access, right? So we're just trying to be at the right place at the right time with the right information. And just generally, just kind of take a quick step back, like the way we look at digital inclusion is we don't want to necessarily create like a whole new work stream, right? We don't want to necessarily have clients per se. We're really focused on supporting people like Micah McLean, who you guys are going to hear from, that are already engaged with these people, right? So that's much more powerful. We're just providing tools and information to them so they can be successful. Micah, just by providing these tools and being engaged with Micah, she signed up over 100 families for low-cost internet access. That is more than some ISPs have signed up in cities where they have had concerted low-cost internet signups. It's certainly more than AT&T signed up at their community events. It's certainly more than Spectrum has signed up at their community events. So by connecting with these people, we actually believe we can have the biggest impact. So what's the impact been so far? And I need to update this map because we've had a lot more signups since then. But I think we're now pushing over 500 signups in the last year. And just to give you guys a little perspective, Comcast in the Bay Area, when they had launched their internet program, over a course of 2.5 years at 100 different events, they signed up just over 300 people. So when you think about that in terms of what our impact is, right, by connecting with these social workers and really tapping into those networks, and we're only going to get bigger because we got Andrea, and she said she wants to sign up 1,000 families this year, and I think it's possible, right? Because it's really about being connected in the community and finding those trusted partners and then empowering them because they know that people need internet access. So when you see this heat map, it's not easy to see right here, but the areas that you saw here earlier that people didn't have internet access, these are the same areas where we're at hotspots for signups. So we're doing a really good job of doing that. We've done over 40 events, and we're going to do a lot more. Hardware. So the challenge is there's significant gaps in home ownership. So if you're a Hispanic person in our community, you're twice as likely to not have a computer than if you're a white person in our community. It breaks along every economic and racial line in our community. So our strategic goal, this is probably too big again, but eliminate economic and racial disparities by 2022. And so how we're doing that this next year, so we try to run our programs May to May. Just that's the way it ended up working. So that's why it says 2018, 2019. But our goal this year is to distribute 600 reliable computers to families, okay? And so that would put us probably in the top 10 of largest computer refurbishment programs in the country. I'd say we may already be in the top 10, but I know this would put us in the top 10, and we may beat this. So how we're doing this is we're getting donations from local corporations. This is a picture from Main Source. As I mentioned, Humana gave us 50 laptops last year. They were awesome. They've already been distributed to people. We get donations from Main Source Bank. Here's them dropping off about 50 computers. Then last year, what we were doing, we gave them, and we're continuing this again this year, we give them to Fern Creek High School. So you can see that gentleman right there. He was the computer science. He's now retired. And as soon as he gets back from his retirement vacation, we're going to recruit him back into this program. I mean, friends and family is true. Do not become my friend because you will do something digital inclusion-wise. But you can see here, that's the first thing of computers that we dropped off there, hundreds of computers. And how it works is the kids refurbish the computers, right? And then half the computers go to Fern Creek High School students who need computers in the computer science program, right? And they're in that southern portion, that same area that has low broadband adoption. So every single one, last year they actually got all their computer science kids computers. Then they started handing out to immigrant families. I mean, it was an amazing program. And then we get the computers back. Now we're actually starting to do some of our own refurbishment. We're kind of changing the program. So because they are, because they're giving the computers to high school or students in JCPS, Microsoft gives them a free license for Windows. So we're going to do the same deal with them, probably on a little bit lower scale. And they're going to get their computers for their students. We're going to give them the best computers for different people. And then they're going to give us computers back that we're going to make sure go to families with students in JCPS, essentially. But we've also started to work with Chrome OS. There's this version of Chrome. It's Chromium Neverware, whatever it is. It's free. It takes about 5 minutes to flash it or whatever, which is pretty good. But the Chrome OS is great, right? Because it never gets viruses. It gives you the basic access you need. We're not trying to give people MacBooks here, right? We're trying to give them basic tools that they can thrive in the modern world. So we really think that Chrome's. And this is a great picture too. This is Lisa Thompson. This is a woman from, we had a recent article in WFPL talking about some of the impact that we've done. Now, please remember too, zero budget, guys. Zero budget. We've been doing this stuff basically just on hard work and cut a little bit of scraps. We do everything to install computers. We assign people for access, digital skills training. So here's one of the computers that she's got. She is a fast food worker. She works at McDonald's, and now she's finishing her GED online with internet access that Micah helped sign her up for, and then the computer that she helped get her. So there's just amazing stories left and right. Micah's going to talk more about that. So what we've done so far, we've secured over 500 computers. They've been promised, and actually I wish Chloe was here because she could give me a real number. Because we aren't even recruiting for computers right now, and people are just calling us and giving us computers, which is great and also a little scary because we don't know where to store all of them. We started storing computers originally before the IT director. He actually had my job, our IT director. We were storing these in the closets, right, in IT, hiding them from people. He'd been working there for 20 years, so he knew all the little spots we could hide them. It's a little weird, like rolling hundreds of computers into IT, and they're like, what are these for? I'm like, don't worry about it. And now we're actually storing them at LMHA, but we kind of like are hiding them at LMHA too. I don't necessarily know if everyone knows exactly how many computers we have, but Chloe definitely does. And we've distributed over 300, but we do have a huge waiting list too. We've got over 400 households on the waiting list, so the need is great. And we're actively recruiting local corporations to kind of help sponsors and help us scale this program, and that's really what I'm focused on this fall. Digital skills, so again, we talked about the challenge of middle skill jobs. Our strategic goal is really have a prepared workforce with necessary digital skills. So we're not trying to create programmers again, we're trying to create people that can work in an office environment, kind of work some of those normal jobs. And our goal this year is to provide comprehensive training to 200 residents. So Grow with Google recently launched here. I'm sure some of you guys have heard of that. They've got this nice track called Applied Digital Skills, which is kind of like basic digital skills for people. And they provided us a kind of a 4-week pathway. And so what we're going to do is people that complete this 4-week pathway, we're going to use like a franchise model with other community organizations so they can help us do it. It's all online, it's free. Whoever completes that 4-week pathway, go with Google, we're going to give them one of those Chrome machines. So, we're hoping that we can get at least 200 residents. I think we'll get more. It's only about 12 hours of training. Other communities do this. There's other organizations that do it, but they also charge people $50 after they do it, or they charge them $100 if it's a laptop. Or they have to volunteer like 24 hours. So we're really just asking, hey, I just want to make sure you can use this computer. Do you have internet access at all? Boom, here's a computer. So you've got your kind of basic digital skills right there. We also did this thing called the Gigabit Experience Center. It's actually the PNC Gigabit Experience Center, where we got money basically to set up kind of a community tech center in West Louisville. It's really kind of more event-based. Like you can go there, there's super high-speed internet. Like on the Wi-Fi, you can get 200-300 megabits per second download. But it also, by kind of putting it in the Russell neighborhood, it's at 13th and Muhammad Ali, we're attracting all kinds of digital skills training. Youth for Technology, they came there, they wanted to do a host a site. They did a lot of young women from Beecher Terrace come and join that program. Also, even Micah's daughter, I think, did it. There are people, so we're attracting events like that. We're also bringing people into the Russell neighborhood from all over the city, right? So this is a Code for America hackathon that we had there. And if you looked at that, I wish I could put the map up here, but had people from Indiana, all over Louisville, coming into the Russell neighborhood to kind of do this, technology hackathon, which, a lot of times people wouldn't necessarily think things like that were happening in Russell, but they're happening all the time at the Gigabit Experience Center. So since May 2017, we've hosted 7 youth technology camps there, 6 hackathons, we had a cybersecurity summit, and we even hosted Startup Weekend there. And Startup Weekend had, one of the things I love, thinking about the impact of these kind of technology centers, these modern technology centers in the community, it really lowers barriers if it's in your neighborhood, right? So we kind of want every neighborhood to have their version of the Gigabit Experience Center. So by hosting the Startup Weekend in the Russell neighborhood, we had somebody from LMHA participate in the Startup Weekend, right? And at first, we had four scholarships for people. We only got one person to show up, but she stayed the whole weekend. She gave the pitch. We were able to give her a computer to use for the weekend. She gave the pitch, stayed all the way through, right? And just really had a good experience. And after that, she was like, I'm really excited about this. I want to take the next step. So I connected her with some people at Economic Development. Didn't think much about it. I just wanted to make sure the meeting happened. I talked to her a month later, and she got connected with like GLI, and now she's got like a business mentor at Masonic Homes, and she's actually going to pursue her idea and start a business in 2019. So that's just anecdotal. I'm not saying that that's like something we can repeat over and over, because that is definitely because of that woman and her desire to do it. But by lowering the barriers to entry for people, we can have more stories like that. And that's what I really love about this center. The other thing I really love too is the work we're doing. I took this picture. This took like 20 minutes to take yesterday. Michael would not. This was on Friday actually. They just opened up their computer center in Parkway Place. It's 13th Street in Park Hill neighborhood. And you can see, I wish Chloe was here because now she'd be really embarrassed. I'll have to show her the video. She was like, Ed, just take the picture. They do not like taking pictures, which is the exact opposite of all my experiences in life. Like usually I'm the one that want to take pictures, but they never want to take any of the pictures of great work they're doing. But they opened up this tech center on Friday. They're doing amazing work there, and I'm just going to let you guys, I'm going to introduce you guys, or I'm going to have Micah come up here and talk a little bit about the work that they're doing at Parkway Place and kind of some of the impact that it's been having on people in that community. Micah.
I'm that person today. So I don't like public speaking, so bear with me. So maybe we can just have a conversation. I won't be so nervous. Like Ed said a little while ago, Connect Home was a program that was conceived by President Obama, and it was an initiative meant to bridge the digital divide for HUD-assisted housing residents. So that's everybody in public housing and all of our Section 8 residents. And the goal is to provide high-speed internet access to these low-income families. I work at Parkway Place, and that is a public housing development built in 1943. We're on the corner of 13th and Hill Street. Like he mentioned, we have a computer lab that we just opened, but we have 652 units there. And we're hoping, our goal is to connect everyone there to internet. It's kind of high, we're gonna try. But I just wanted to come up here and talk about what the digital divide really looks like. You know, we can talk about it, but I wanted to kind of put a face on it. And the first thing, the most important thing is signing up for The most important thing is signing up for the internet. It all requires you to have internet access. So that's been the big obstacle is getting our families even signed up. And so that's why we have kind of taken it upon our backs to connect them ourselves. I've, did over like 100 in my office, and then we go to different events across the city, like back to school events, and we just sign people up on tablets and everything. But it's very ironic that programs that are meant to help people already start off as being a roadblock in the first place. And it's what I discovered in my work is that it happens all the time. And some of the major things that we do over there in the computer lab is we assist people to look for jobs. Most jobs don't have paper applications anymore. So our residents are already behind. So they don't know how to get on it. Most of them don't have email addresses. So that's the first step. We have to get everybody email addresses so a job can contact them back. A lot of them don't have consistent phone service. So it's very important that they have access to the internet so jobs can contact them. One of the most sad things I've encountered is like the homework divide with education. Our elementary school students are required to be on like Google Classroom and different things like that, and it limits their participation in the educational process. And when you think that they say that a lot of the prisons are built based on statistics from third graders, and when you really think about the unfairness of that, it really sobers you. But some of our families go to McDonald's on 13th and Broadway just to sit in the parking lot to try to use their Wi-Fi. So it's very important that we have been able to provide them with computers at home. Because to be poor, I always say that to be poor is to be inconvenienced all the time. Just simple things become so difficult. Just transportation, just doing little things. And if we can make the lives of our residents easier in just the simplest of ways, that's what we want to do. I was able to help a student with his first Black History Month project. He was in the first grade, and his mom came into the office, and she had 2 pieces of computer paper, and she was going to staple them together, and she didn't have any research for his person, who was Charles Lattimore. And what we did was we were able to get on the computer. We had to go get him a poster board because, as you know, a project's not a project if you don't put it on a poster board. So we went and got that, and we were able to print off some facts and some statistics, and he really felt better about himself. And I always wondered that if he had went to class the next day with these 2 pieces of paper, what would his teacher have thought about him and his brother? Would she have thought that he didn't care? Or would she give him the benefit of the doubt? And those are some of the things that I worry about, and then hopefully through this program can help correct. And also, I'm just going to read this statistic to you. I just copied this off just a minute go because I wanted to say it. And it was that 59% of caregivers with internet access say that online resources have increased their ability to provide care and support for the person in their care. And especially for our residents, when we made the transition to applying for healthcare online with the marketplace, they were really left behind. They didn't know how to do it, didn't know how to get on the Connect website, and were unable to navigate that. And I spent a lot of my time during the open enrollment period, and I'm not really qualified to distinguish between health plans, but we spent a whole lot of time together just trying to navigate them just to select coverage where they can have insurance for the following year. And those are some of the issues that you have when you just don't have internet access. To tell a personal story, one of our residents has a baby that was born premature and is on dialysis, and what she uses her computer for is to chart the supplies. She has to, I've never heard of this before, but she has to keep a track of her dialysis supplies online, and then her doctor also monitors what she puts in to make sure it's being done. And it's like a life-saving measure for her. She really has to have this, and she, even though she doesn't have any income, she makes it a priority to pay this $10 a month through AT&T so she can contribute to the health of her baby. And if she wasn't doing that, I'm sure, the doctor would have probably called CPS on her and felt like she was neglecting her child. But she's really not. She just doesn't have the means to provide that. And a cell phone doesn't do all that you need to do. Yes, it has a lot of computing power, but it's still insufficient. We have our residents that are trying to file tax returns on the phone, write essays for their kids on the phone, and it's amazing that those stories still exist out there, but they do. Let's see what else I want to say. I just wanted to say that, the Connect Home program, it was funded through President Obama, but it has been defunded. So it's like to say the work that we're doing is really done on a shoestring budget, that's not even correct. It's like a lace with a plastic tip on. That's the type of budget that we're doing this on, and we're doing it with good intentions, and none of this, none of these are, our full-time jobs are not Connect Home, but we devote a lot of time, and we mean well, and we have good intentions, and we want our families lives to be better. And that's why I feel like we're so dedicated, and we're willing for anybody to come help. If you want to volunteer with us at the computer lab, if you have a computer you want to donate, we don't have a lot of space, but we're not going to turn anybody away. We'll take donations, and I just wanted to lead with this. The Housing Authority has a scholarship program, and we had 12 recipients this year. And for some reason I thought, well, why don't we ask those recipients if they had a laptop? A lot of the other people on the scholarship committee was like, no, they probably already have that, or their school provided it for them. We ended up contacting our recipients, and 6 of the 12 didn't have a computer, and they were going off to school. And like 3 of them were waiting on financial aid, which may or may not come in. It's like to start school as a freshman, some of them first-time college students in their family, and to start at such a deficit, it just seems so unfair. And it's very emotional when some of them came to pick up their laptop. Some of them were in tears because they didn't know how they were going to get a computer. And it just doesn't seem right. And I don't know, I try to emphasize to my residents that having internet is a public utility. It's your right to have it. And I think that when you think like that, that it'll encourage the way you vote, the way you talk to the public officials. And everybody needs to see that it shouldn't just be a privilege that you pay for, that your income dictates whether or not you have access to it. Open for any questions.